Guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. In today's video, by the title of the video, you know what's going on. We're finally getting back to the old S10. That's right. I'm ready for this. Who knows if it's going to work? We'll find out. But 1985 Chevy S10 2.8 carbureted V6. That's right. So, as you know, the last time you seen this truck, we took it to the drag strip, made a couple passes, and then on that second pass, it wasn't good. And I took it to a mechanic shop that does transmissions around here that I trust with my stuff, because you know how I am. I don't let anybody else mess on my stuff unless it's me. He said that it sounded like I tore up the planetary gear in the transmission. That's great. That's great. And to do that, I thought it was just easy to replace. No, it's not. And to do it, $1,200 for another rebuild. So we're going to be swapping to a 3-speed, that's right, called the THM 200C. Now, I was told that was like the weakest transmission back in the day because only the 82, the 83, and maybe between 84 was the last year you had the 3-speed. These from 84 to 86 and all the way up to 93 had the 700R4 or the 4L60. And then the 4L60E, of course, as everybody knows, that's the next S10 expert, kind of like I am, that's dealt with these things. The 4L60E did not come out until about 93, something like that. Some of them in 92 had it, but it depends on your build date on the door sticker, you know, when it was made. But anyway, we're going to track back to about almost 4 months ago, about 3 months ago, back when it was warmer, and get to swapping this transmission. Does it work? I don't know. You'll find out. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down the road real quick, show you what it's doing one last time, and I'm going to give it a bath. It needs one really, really bad. You can see the stuff in the paint. Like, this is dirt. I can wipe it away with my finger, but the paint's coming off. It's got a few dents. There's one there and another one. There's something that hit it here. I don't know what. Something hit it there pretty bad. There's a dent here. And then, you know, the paint's fading. So, I picked up another hood. And this came off the same truck that these fenders came off, so I actually have matching paint. No, I have not got the numbers off of the fender yet. I don't know how to get that stuff off without hurting the paint. I've never really looked into it. I've just left them. Not much done with the truck, you know, since the last time you've seen it. After I found out what was wrong with it, it's been parked ever since. I don't want to damage the transmission more than it already is. It's toast, you know. I mean, there's, you know, the whole transmission had to come apart. So, but it needs a bath. I need a bed. The bed's rusting away, and it's been damaged. The middle part's always pushed in, so we got rust here, and so on. And then there's some rust down here, but it's not all the way through. Here and so on. I got another tailgate. It's tan and I have to be painted, so I'm going to get rid of this tailgate. I'm going to get rid of the other hood that's on it now. But need to fire it up, cold start, and take it to the car wash, clean it up, and then show you what it's doing so you can kind of get an idea. Just in case you didn't see the last video, I took this to the drag strip, made a few passes, and on the second pass, that's when everything went wrong. But I had a buddy of mine that was there with me. He said that it was making the noise before I made the first pass. So maybe it failed on the way down there. I don't know. You can see the tag doesn't work. It's dead. I don't know what happened to it. It was working, but that night when I got to the drag strip, it just quit. So everything runs smooth as could be. So far, I don't seem to have any engine problems. I've not really driven it since, well, since the last time that it started making noise and I took it to another shop that does transmissions, because I'm not a transmission guy. I'll change the fluid in the filter and all that type of thing, put a torque converter in something, but you know, as far as rebuilding them or tearing them apart, heck no. Did the torque converter I put in it cause the problem? That's what I'm worried about. I have no way to prove it by now. I mean, I've put 120 some odd miles on this, maybe a little more, since I put the transmission and engine and everything back together in this truck. So I don't know. There's no way to really prove it. The guy at the shop said that if there's metal in the pan, there's going to be metal in the torque converter and everything else. So there's really no way to honestly prove it that the torque converter was the problem that caused all this, because I never had ever transmission problems with this truck. And then I put the torque converter in it, and then I spaced it like it was supposed to be. Everybody told me to do. Did the calculations right. I even showed the guy at the mechanic shop, the transmission shop, what I did, the spacers I used, the measurements, everything was right like it should be. But I don't know, something I think failed in the converter. Maybe it sent metal ferment, got into there, and then it tore up the planetary gear. I didn't know what it looked like. The guy at the transmission shop showed me the planetary gear, and I got to see what they actually looked like. He said that metal got in there somehow, and that's what tore it up. So, it is what it is at this point. But, you know, I don't know. Hopefully we'll have a good transmission again, because the other transmission that was with this motor didn't really have any problems at all. I'm going to put a few seals in it, some gaskets, a new filter, and some fluid, and then just throw it in. So, truck is loaded up. Going to the car wash real quick. You notice it has some temperature in it. There's no noise at all. No whining from the transmission, no grinding, no nothing. No chicka 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 sound, you know, coming from it. Nothing. Put it in gear. Nothing. No noise. It's like the transmission is normal when it's cold. Goes right into gear every time. The only thing I know that I don't have anymore is lockup. Torque converter lockup does not happen. Ever since that night at the drag strip, it has not came back. And that was a so-called rebuilt, newish torque converter. Alright, show you how it drives. Second. Third. I do hear some noise. Then it goes away. Also adjusted the TV cable because it was out of adjustment. It had way too much slack and it was causing the shifts to be too close together since that night. So it does shift better, and it's always shifted kind of you know, like for instance from first to second, second to third, kind of a little bit when it's cold. And it's always done that since I've had this truck and since I put it together. It's never gave me a problem. And then when it gets kind of hot, then it kind of quits doing that so much. But I mean, that to me sounds like a really good transmission. But look at the temperature. I'm already over 210. What in the world is going on with this? Now it's cooling back down. I think the transmission's overheating. And I think that's what's causing my coolant temperature to climb so high. like I say, all my gears are there except for torque converter lockup. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. That's why I always kind of said ever since this happened that I suspect something happened in the converter, and that's what's tore up the transmission. And if I make left turns, it does not like that, which I'm about to make one now. See the temperature now. Usually stays about right in that area, a little lower than 210, but alright, so here's the transmission we're putting in this thing. 3-speed. It's called the THM 200C transmission. Basically like a turbo 350, TH350. Because the transmission pan and everything's the same. So 3-speed is all you really need to know. So I got a bag of parts here, and finally I'm going to go ahead and throw everything in so that way it's absolutely ready to be swapped into the truck. So step one was to remove the speedometer gear housing, and I'm kind of glad I did. Well, for one, it leaked like crazy, pretty bad, in the other truck this came from. And secondly, this is why, because look at the RTV all over it. I mean, all over it. Somebody shot a bunch of it on there and just shoved it back into the transmission. And that's not what you want. There's the red gear. So when I pulled it out, a bunch of it fell out. So I'm going to take some brake clean and get the rest of the residue of the RTV out of there. You don't want RTV in the transmission, especially don't want that cycled all the way through the transmission. That would not be good. So I got a new seal, and I got the little seal that goes in here for the speedometer part. It was leaking out of here and leaking around the housing itself. And I got the tail shaft seal. I have the front pump seal that I got to install. And there's something else. Oh, transmission mount, of course. Brand new TV cable I'm going to put in it. Kick down cable, whatever you want to call it. Passing gear cable. What else did I get? The seal for the dipstick tube. And the new cable for the kick down comes with a new seal. So that'll be great. I still have the lines that went to this. So I'm going to throw those in. Probably after I get it into the truck. It's easy to access. And I can do it that way. That way I can kind of line them up and adjust them where they need to be. Alright, before I pop the new gear in, well, the new improved with new seals, which you can tell inside there. You see the new seal. Brand new install with the little C-clip that holds it in. And then you got the whole seal that goes around here that should have been put on it, not RTV. Never put RTV on your transmission stuff. Maybe the pan gasket, but nothing else. The part number for the little seal is this guy, 760010, and then the one for the big O-ring that goes around it like this is this part number, 762004, and all these are from O'Reilly's. Tail shaft seal is in. Now it came with the repair sleeve, but I could not figure out how to get that out. And the other one that was in it looked fine, so I'm just going to leave it. I don't like how this shaft moves up and down, but the transmission guy told me that that was fine because these are not set up like the 704 or the 460, so there's going to be playback here like that, supposedly. So the tail shaft seal is in. Part number for that guy through AutoZone. Come on. Oh. Anyway, it is 5200. 5200 is the part number. And then the one for the front pump seal, as they call it, oil pump seal, front pump seal, torque converter seal. This is 4950. Oh, my phone does not want to. There you go. Both of them popped out with the seal removal tool. Not had that happen in a while. Most of the time you got to really get at them with a tool. And then my homemade seal that I installer tool that I made a long time ago out of some pipe from Lowe's, as you can tell. I use this from crankshaft seals, CV axle seals, front pump seal, tail shaft seal, all that thing. They're all the same size. Very, very handy, and wrote on it. I always use it. It's my go-to tool. But you can see that one's installed, brand new. So all the seals in this is done. The speedometer seal, front pump seal, tail shaft seal. And then once it's in the truck, we'll do the oil pan and filter and all that stuff. I am replacing the little seal that goes on the dipstick tube. This little guy. It's kind of worn out. I mean, it's still flexible, but here's the part number for that. Got that from a buddy. He gave me an extra one. So, alright, quite some time later, now the truck is on ramps. Wheels are chalked. And that's a bit of a challenge. You can see the scrape marks. Trying to get the truck to drive up on them. These are my metal ramps. I've had these for a long time. My other ramps that are plastic, they're very good. However, they don't sit as high as these. I wanted something to get the truck high enough so that way when I'm getting the transmission in and out, I've got room to slide it in and all that stuff from underneath the truck, because the truck kind of sits a little low even though it kind of sits tall. So these are the highest. I didn't want to use jack stands. I don't like jack stands. I don't trust jack stands. I'd rather do these with my life. Trying to wiggle around with the transmission and the bell housing and all that stuff. I don't want it to fall on my face or my whole entire body being that far underneath the truck. So anyway, I had to get my jack and a 4x4 to extend it, because my jack would max out before getting the truck to sit inside the ramps. So we got that, and now that transmission is ready to be swapped in this, we got to get the truck side ready. Picked up a new shop fan, Walmart, 28 bucks. I think it was originally like 60. That's on one. Pretty dang strong. That'll help. So hopefully there'll be enough room, you know, to get the transmission out. It's going to be a challenge, but that's all I've got. I don't have a lift. So first thing I want to do before doing anything is transmission pan. I want to drop that. I want to see what's in the pan. Secondly, I want to get all the fluid I can out of this before dropping it, because when I tilt this thing, everything that is left or whatever that's in the transmission will start pouring out of this tail shaft. I don't want it all over my shop floor. I don't want to lay in it. I don't want to get it everywhere. So we're going to start with that. Transmission jack from Harbor Freight. Coupon was like $200 and some odd out the door. So it's got brackets and a chain and everything that'll hold the whole pan, and it tilts back and forth, front to back. So that'll help with getting to the bell housing bolts, because that little guy way up there is going to be hard to get to because of this stupid firewall. So yeah, so I got to tilt the transmission in order to get it down, and you can't really do that with a regular jack itself. So I feel a lot safer with the transmission jack. Alright, so here's the filter and what's left of it anyway. The stuff that comes out of there has got like this metallic. See, it's all shiny. That's metal. Oh yeah, you can see it pouring out now. So yeah, not looking good for this transmission. Bunch of metal in the pan, or in the filter itself. At least that it was caught in the filter and it wasn't you know, big chunks or anything like that. So good to see, but then not good to see. Not much metal on the magnet. That's like normal wear that I've always seen. I'm going to show you the underside of the transmission side. And as for this, it still looks like brand new in there, just like it did 5 years ago when I serviced this, which was probably about 30-some thousand miles ago. So I don't drive it much. I will be now that I know that I have a good drivetrain once I get this transmission in. But yeah, kind of crazy. I mean, there's no really build up much really on things. What I see is normal wear like I've always seen. I've taken several transmissions apart like this to do the filter job and fluid, and this is the cleanest I've ever seen. So yeah. And there's writing on the inside. It's upside down, but it says 4L60E. Now that's just funny because this is not a 4L60E. I don't know why it says that, but you can see it plain as day upside down, 4L60E inside there. So maybe it has 4L60E parts in it. I don't know. I really do not know. So I'm gonna clean the pan out and just throw that gasket and pan back on without the filter, and then we can start taking the exhaust and everything else off now that I got all the fluid out. So alright, so sometime later, you see the transmission's out now. Ain't that great? So yeah, rule number 1, never ever use red Loctite on your bell housing bolts. I will never do that again. Learn my lesson on that shit. Because it took forever to get them out. I had to use my propane torch to heat up the bolts in order to get the liquid to liquefy again in order to get the bolts out. They wouldn't come out. I tried my impact gun that I got, my air impact. Nothing would get that loose. So it was actually took a big crowbar, breaker bar, and a few extensions that's laying around here somewhere. Several of these. And a swivel with the 18 on the end, short. And got it out. So, yeah, so the transmission's out. I'm really, really glad of that. Now the hard part is, which I say that, getting the other one back in. So the idea was that transmission jack that I got sits too high with it fully lowered as far as it can go down. And so I took my piece of wood here that I have, it's a whole square, and set it in front of that. Then I took these 2x4s that I've got and I set those right underneath it as like a ramp, tilted the mechanism on the jack so the transmission to go downward, slid the transmission down on top of that platform, then took these back out, set them down here, and used it to ramp them off the transmission off of the platform, a piece of wood up there. So now it's in my hands, and I can actually get it out. Is it going to clear? No, but I can get it out. Oh. Out with the old, in with the new, huh? Whew. Boy, I'm telling you, sometimes I get bright ideas to think well, sometimes I don't. But this one, really I got smart with. So this is exactly how the other one's going to go back in up there. I'm going to take the other one and ramp it back up onto that platform, turn around, stick them back this way again, match that one up, somehow pop it up on to that jack, and then hoist it back up under there, and should be good to go. The difference there is how much longer that one is versus how much shorter this one is. I'm going to measure it off camera real quick just to see. But this one is way lighter than that one over there. It is better since I got the fluid out. But it's still heavier than this one. This one, way easier with one hand versus that one. It actually looks a little fatter as well. Alright, so pan's dropped. Drain the fluid, and well, it definitely had water in it, like I had expected. The guy said it had water in it, where he had the TV cable out, left it out in the weather. I don't know how much water's in it, but whatever fluid was used in this transmission stinks. It's not a burnt smell. That would mean it wouldn't be good. But this is like a, I don't know, the only way I know how to describe it is like this slight smell of like of an onion. But it's not that. It's just, it reeks. It smells like just old fluid, possibly. But, I mean, you can tell it's still red. Must be just some cheap off-brand fluid. I don't know what was used, but it's getting out of it. And I'm going to be putting Dextron 6 in it because that's what it calls for. They don't use Dextron 3 anymore. I don't know if it's been rebuilt. Looks like it possibly has. Who knows? But it's not too bad. It looks just about like the other one did. And so I'll pop that filter off. 2 bolts that hold that on. Let the rest of it drain. Trying to get the shifter mechanism hooked up here. Having some problems with that. I'm glad I kept this because the 7R4 shifter linkage does not fit. It's too long as far as like the rod and stuff, because it sits up here and the 7R4 sit farther back. So I am having problems with the rod at the very top hitting the column, so I may have to change the rod piece part itself, take the bolt off of this one and swap them out, see if that works. I don't know. It's not wanting to fit. I'm having problems with this locking into the transmission as well. So, you know, a lot of bugs to work out here. And then the next issue, dry shaft. Something I was really afraid of, which I had a feeling is going to happen because this transmission is shorter than the other one. But the shaft that the dry shaft slides onto, the splines, stick out to about here. I want to say about right here. So it does have quite a bit grabbed onto it, but I don't like how far this sticks out. That's way too much. It should be, I would say, this much showing. About where the lighter part of the dry shaft starts is about how much should be left. Shouldn't have this much. So I'm going to have to take this and have it extended. Don't know how much it costs. Never done one before. We're going to figure it out. I have the adjustment for the center support bearing all the way to the front. As you can see where the holes are now. You can see where they were before because the 7R4 was so much longer. So it's pretty much just the front half that needs to be extended. So I am going to run this transmission. I'm not going to be able to drive it because of this. But I at least want to jack up the wheels, put it in reverse, put it in drive, make sure I got all of my gears, and I can at least spin the tires with it up in the air, not driving it with a load, and make sure that it shifts before I fully commit to getting the dry shaft extended. Because last thing I want is to do all this work and then actually take it for its test drive and then it won't pull or when it won't change and I don't have any gears. Because this thing had water in it. I don't know how many miles is on it. I don't know if it's rebuilt. But there was definitely water in it. Because if I take this pan, see the water all in that? Yeah. Not good, buddy. Not good at all. Here's the other side. Just figured I'd show you. The TV cable that I got, kickdown cable, whatever you want to call it, will not work. It's a brand new cable. It won't fit into the bracket assembly up there at the top of the carburetor, or the valve cover, I should say. I'm having a problem with it fitting on the carburetor slot that it has, and I'm having a problem with it going into the bracket assembly on the side. I'm going to use the one that came out of the 7R4 because they're the same length, actually, between the old one that came out of this transmission. And this one's in better shape. It's not bent up here. So, and I know I can adjust it with the button. So, the tab is broke on one side. I'm not really happy with that, but I can fix that with a zip tie. Done it before. Should work. So this one is a brand new one, but the little tabs that are on the side of this, for some reason, it won't slide into that bracket and lock itself in. And then because the end is different, it doesn't really want to fit on the carburetor well. I think that part down there is a little bit bigger than this, and it just doesn't want to work. So I'll just put this up for safekeeping, I guess, and keep it around for something else. Alright, well, it's been some quiet time later. Finally getting over a cold. My voice is better. So, put the TV cable back in it that came with this transmission. Changed the lines, because the lines for the 700R4 wouldn't fit. Put a radiator in it. The other radiator started leaking. So, under warranty. Got a new one. Got a pressure relief cap. Just sit here and let this thing warm up. Had some issues off camera. Trying to bleed the cooling system real quick. Take it for its first test drive. And for some reason I can't have this hooked up. The tool converter lockup solenoid. Or actually the connector at all. Because the one that's back here, right there that's unplugged, that you see, that one was causing the fuse to blow inside with the gauges, which also makes me think that's what was going on with my buddy's truck, because his would blow the fuse and mine was blowing the fuse where my choke light wouldn't light up and the brake light wouldn't light up, and I didn't have a door buzzer or a key buzzer. Everything else worked, like the lights, the radio, the heater blower, the horn, interior lights, all that stuff. I just didn't have gauges. My temperature gauge wouldn't work. Something else was off. And then the two lights. The 20 amp fuse. So after replacing that 3 times and finally diagnosing it and figuring out what the heck was going on, it come to figure out that's what it was. So that sucks. Something in that circuit for the lockup on the transmission side is grounding itself out, or something drawing the sensor. I don't know, but it does not do well if you plug it up. So I disconnected every bit of that and put another fuse in it. It's fixed. So lockup didn't work anyway in his truck, so yeah, I don't really care. So, got reverse. There's no drive. Could be still low on a little bit of fluid, but oh, there it goes. Alright, that scared me for a minute. So we'll check the fluids, get it up to temperature. As you can tell, it's barely above 100. And bleed the system. We'll take it for a first test drive. No, the drive shaft is not fixed. I'm actually going to wing it like it is just to take it down the road. I want to make sure absolutely this thing will shift before I spend X amount of money having the drive shaft extended. It's not cheap. Not going to say the price, but it's not cheap because I called around and checked. And there's only like one place around here that does it. Alright. Not looking too good for this transmission. Temperature's alright. I still got to play with the cooling system a bit. Probably bleed some more out of it. I just checked it. It is full. But idling at about 900 to 1,000 RPM. It needs to be dropped down to about 850, 750, something like that. But anyway, put it in gear all the way to drive. Oh, well now it goes in. It would not do this off camera. See if I can get it to act up. Reverse is there. Got reverse gears, forward gears. See what it does? Nothing. It's in drive. There it goes. Now it moves. Yeah, that's not good. And when I was under the hood checking the transmission fluid again, it's completely full now that I got it up to temperature. It's still not, you know, doing what it's supposed to do, but I've got a whining noise, and it sounds like the front pump. See? Nothing. It's in gear. Let's go all the way to first. And it goes in gear better when you go all the way to first, but it's not doing it on its own all the way to drive. So let's start again, all the way to drive. Oh, now it goes in. All the way to first. Yep. Reverse. Okay, drive. Oh, now it's working. It's like when you mess with it, then it works. This transmission had water in it. The guy left the TV cable out, left it outside, and it had water in it. I got all that out when I dropped the pan. I cleaned the inside of the valve body as best as I could with some brake cleaner and a rag, but it ain't great. So let's take it down the strip, see what it does. See if I got my forward gears real quick. Starting to climb in temperature just a bit. Alright. Let's see what happens. I'm not gonna really floor it. I don't want to do that. Not with the torque converter, the dry shaft being so far out. I just want to see what it does. And here comes a cop. Yeah, I'm not getting in front of that. Dang, second hit's hard. Third. That's pretty much it. Take the line pressure needs to be adjusted, the TV cable. That shifts a little hard. Make it downshift. Yeah, downshift's easy. Third. Dadgum, I'm doing 60 miles an hour like it ain't nothing. Actually, this is 5 miles off. So, at about 50 miles an hour ish, I'm doing over $2,000. That is not good. That cannot be right. I'll have to check it with GPS to make sure that speedometer is doing right, but that is way too high. I don't like that. I definitely cannot do highway speeds with it like this. That's not going to work. Jeez, that ship's hard. Yeah. Definitely got to do some adjusting there. I guess we'll head back to the garage and see if I can play with that. Try to get it to where it'll shift a little bit better. But as far as what I'm going to do about RPM, I don't know. That just ain't right. That's way too much. I have 373 rear end, so, and I plan on changing this to like 342 out of a Blazer with rear disc brakes. But until that happens, I don't know. I definitely cannot do highway speeds like this. That's crazy. Alright, so it's been some times past again, and I've been trying to play with it, dial it in, and try to get things set right. Got the timing set right, finally now. Runs better, doesn't hesitate to start when it gets hot, so that problem is solved. The TV cable, kick down cable, notice where I marked it with a white marker so I could actually dial it in right. Got it set, I believe, pretty much correct now. We're just about in the ballpark where it should be. Some other things have changed. I've added amber lights there, and here to the grill. They light up with the park lights on. I'll try to throw in the picture real quick what it looks like at night. Those lit up. It's kind of like the Ford Raptor is what they did. Not trying to copy that, but I figured it was cool, and they were on sale at at Walmart, so I picked them up. You can see it's got an electric fan now. I still have the clutch fan. The radiator's not big enough to do both fans. I'd have to do two small ones, and two small ones I just don't think it's going to be good enough for it. So I went with one big one. I think it's a 12-inch. And this clutch fan, just left it alone. Wiring's all tucked up. It's a wiring kit for something else, but it works for the electric fan. Wired up a switch. Got the wiring, runs it all the way into the cab. There's that harness. They all run down to the firewall. You can see the green wire for the new tack I installed. I'm going to show you that in a second. Then I had to go and get these adapters for the side post. Yes, I know, side post sucks. Tell me about it. I want to go and find a battery that has top post and side post as a combo. That way I can hook up extra accessories and the fans and lights and fog lights and other things that I want to put to this truck. Because later on I want to put bed lights in it, in the bed, that actually light up on the inside and lights up the bed. Of course the bed's not perfect, so, but at night, like say the drive-in or something, or I just want the bed lit up, I can do that. But anyway, this will work for now. It's got it hooked up in its own power. It has a relay. It has a fuse right here that you can't really see. Right there. So it's fully protected and hooked up like it should be, so if something goes wrong it blows the fuse and doesn't cause fire. I was driving this. I took this to the junkyard, and that's about somewhere 65 miles ish, give or take. It's like 30 some miles each way, adds up to about 60 some miles. But anyway, it's coming back and it was late. I was trying to test out how the transmission would act. The speedometer is 5 to 10, somewhere around in there, miles off. Really bad. So I had to use GPS app to figure out how fast I was going to dial everything in. And well, at 55 miles an hour, I'm doing almost 3,000 RPM. That is crazy. So I have 373 in the rear diff, so having a 3-speed and that's not a good combo for this. That's way too high in the RPM. But anyways, coming back, and this jerk went around me, past me, got in front of me, and just slammed the brakes in the middle of the damn road. So bad that I had to slam mine to keep from hitting him. Then he just sits there. But the point is, what I'm trying to get at is my brake proportioning valve is leaking now. So I guess after that really, really hard slam the pedal as hard as I could get it to make this thing stop, caused my proportioning valve to leak. Now you can kind of see it where it's wet. You can see the fender where it's been leaking ever since that night. So that's great. I'll have to pick up one of those at the junkyard and swap that out, because I don't believe you can get a new one anymore. But so yeah, 55 miles an hour, that's almost 3,000 RPM. It's like 2,800, 2,900, something like that. And then at 45, I'm doing somewhere around 2,500 RPM. So I cannot do highway speeds of doing 65 miles an hour plus anymore. Not with this transmission. So I'm in the means of finding another one. As stupid as that sounds, this transmission's got some wear in it. Especially what I found in the pans, not great. So I'm in the midst of looking for another transmission. I want a 700R4 like I had. I want my 4-speed back, because this 3-speed ain't cutting it. Yes, I can go, town, parts store, etc. But as far as highway speeds, like I really need to do, can't do it. Not with this one. So I have to find another one. Who knows if I can. It's gonna be kind of hard because not many people care for the V6 transmissions, so it's kind of hard to find them. It's not like a V8 700R4. As far as the inside, we have transmission temperature gauge, oil pressure, and a vacuum gauge or boost gauge. That's not hooked up, neither is this one or this one yet. I was trying to hook that up behind camera, but I did not put the transmission cooler in it, so I'm not hooking up the transmission gauge yet. I don't really care about the temperature on this one because this transmission is really not the greatest. I'm going to show you that in just a second. I put the tack here on top of the column, zip tied that, and kind of in the middle. I can still see the speed and everything I need to see, but put a radio in it. Not many people are going to really like that too well. It is a Cadillac radio, very fancy for back in the day. But this is my cooling fan. This one's not hooked up yet. That's going to be for the lights probably in the bed. Something like that. But, yeah. So I'm going to hook up these gauges. I'd like to find a AFR gauge, so I can monitor how rich or lean the engine's running, because I can't really dial this carburetor in, and nobody around here knows how to mess with them. It's a Rochester 2-barrel, and JB, if you're watching this, I'm sure you know about the carburetors, and nobody else really around here knows how to adjust them. I think there's only one set screw, and that adjusts your fuel and air mixture together, so I honestly don't know how to do that. So the best way to do it is get one of those gauges so I can monitor it and kind of dial that in. Maybe hook up a vacuum gauge too and get that set. Something else I want to add. Been to the junkyard and look what I found. Some of the guys for the 82 to 85 model S10s, you know, these are very, very hard to find. The ones with this aluminum looking shine finish to it. For the dash pieces, the bezels and everything. Something else is very rare that you will ever find. A cluster with the factory tack in it with the trip meter. And I'm still on the hunt to find one with the 6-digit odometer so I can actually tell my mileage and not have a 5-digit. But this has the tack, oil pressure, battery voltage, gas gauge, and temperature. So it basically takes my other cluster that I have, moves the fuel gauge from here to here, and then it has a tack. I'm not after the factory tack. I don't care about that part. I want to take my sunper gauge that I just showed you on the steering column, shove that guy in here, put it all together, wire this cluster to my truck, stick that in there, and then have all that into there. That way the, tack is not on my steering column, and it kind of puts everything neat into its little space. But I want to figure out how to get this residue off. You see the run stains all over it? How in the world do you polish these to clean them up without hurting the paint or destroying them? They're already old, so if anybody knows how to clean these, it's like aluminum finish. I tried some mag wheel aluminum polish stuff in the corner, trying to figure out if that would take that stain, this run stains off, but it didn't work. So I don't know how to get that off. I don't know what causes that. It's not on this one, which is kind of odd. It's all muddy. It's come out of a Blazer. It's usually where you find the ones with the factory cluster with the tack. This one's kind of faded. But then the glove box, Tahoe. You see the run stains. It's kind of shiny. But I just want to get it to where it's shining, and cleaned up better than this, because there's still spots all over it, and I don't know how to get that off. So if anybody knows, let me know in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. But this is not going to be installed in this video. It's going to be a later time. There's way more content coming on this truck, but stay tuned for this stuff, because it will be coming. I do have a slightly overheating problem when it sits still after the engine's hot. It will creep along past 210 just a bit. The first dot after 210, the little dot, the first or second one, close to it, something like that. And once I get going again, it's fine. I've tried bleeding the cooling system about 3 times. It still has not fixed the problem. If I turn the heat on, or the electric fan, seems to be alright. It doesn't do that. But if you don't have none of those on and you're sitting still after a bit, like at a drive-through, it starts to creep up a bit. Never did that before. I changed the thermostat out of the old 2.8 that was clapped out that was in this truck, because I know that thermostat worked. Put that in here, and I actually drilled a hole in the thermostat to help fluid pass as it warms up, but and help bleed it. But still wants to creep up a bit. I'm not figured out why that's what's causing it. I wouldn't figure the clutch fan was bad. Oh, you stubborn mule. One healthy 2.8. Other than the crappy gas mileage and it being a 3-speed, I mean, I guess it's alright. I mean, it gets me to where I need to go. I got my truck back, but in the meantime, I'm definitely going to be looking for another transmission. Hopefully we'll find one. That will be probably kind of hard to find. We'll see. Would try to get one from a junkyard, but then, you know, you never know the condition unless it's wrecked. So I guess I call that a fix. I did change the speedometer gear on the side of the transmission. I took the one out of the 700R4 and put it in this one to kind of dial in my speedometer back so I could tell how fast I was going. That helped some. The one that was in this transmission here was a 38 gear, and the one I put in it, I believe, is a 42 tooth gear. So it didn't really change much. Apparently to my speedometer, if I'm doing 55, it's actually 45. So it's still technically just about 10 miles off. So, I don't know. I may just leave it like it is, or try to go to the junkyard and find another speedometer gear out of something else. Maybe a Turbo 350 or something like that would have the right gear that I'm looking for. Or maybe I just have to call a company and have one made specifically for this, or have them tell me what I'm looking for, because I have 373s and a 3-speed transmission, so I don't know. So I guess that's going to be it for this video, and I hope you enjoyed it somehow. I know there was bits and pieces everywhere on this, and it was actually over the course of about 3 months. of putting this together, trying to get transmission swap, trying to get parts that I needed for this, that I was wanting to put in it, because I thought this was going to be, you know, a done cut deal of putting this in here and never having to swap it again. But well, it is what it is at this point. So if you liked it, give it a big thumbs up. I appreciate it. It helps the algorithm. And comment below, let me know what you think. And until next time, like, share, subscribe, guys, and I will catch you in the next one later. Stay tuned for more content on this S10 coming your way. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.